South. Well, it's voting day today. Polling for the second phase of elections in 39 seats in Assam, 30 in West Bengal are taking place. So far, if we can tell you about the turnout, till 9 this morning in West Bengal, it was 15.7%, while in Assam, it was 10.5% of the voter turnout till 9 o'clock this morning. Now, in Bengal, all eyes are on Nandigram, which is the epicenter of the battle for the state, with the Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee toe-to-toe with her protege turnout rival Suvendu Adhikari. Nandigram is in East Midnapur district, and the backyard of the Adhikaris, the most prominent political family in the area. Also in Nandigram today, there have been several complaints at polling booths. There have been many complaints made by the Trinamool Congress alleging that polling agents aren't being allowed into booths, also alleging that some BJP workers are not allowing their candidate to go to the polling booth. So several complaints have been made, but the Election Commission so far has said that polling is proceeding smoothly in all the polling booths. Well, NDTV's Monideepa spoke to some of those who had gathered for the polling in a polling booth in Nandigram.
Since early this morning, reports of spots of trouble across Nandigram. We've been hearing from the Trinamool sources that either, polling agents have not been allowed to go in, or there's been some disturbance at the Trinamool party booth, and the accusing finger is of course pointed at the BJP. But this village over here, Nandigram, not far from the heart of town, things seem very much in order. You have full COVID protocols being undertaken to ensure that Election Commission rules are complied with. Sanitizer, temperature checks, and I can see gloves also being distributed to people as per rule. With me is Rakesh, who is from Nandigram and can speak some Hindi. Rakesh ji, बताइए इस बार का इलेक्शन अलग सा क्यों है?
थोड़ा प्रोग्रेस का है, लेकिन जो कांटा है, जो
सबसे बड़ा यही बात,
सबसे बड़ा नेता है मुख्यमंत्री ममता बनर्जी, और शुभेंदु जी सबसे बड़ा नेता है, इसलिए थोड़ा सारा देश का जो दृष्टिकोण है यहाँ पे केंद्रित है मेनली।
तो आपको कैसा लग रहा है? एकदम वीआईपी
कॉन्स्टिट्यूट है, इसलिए
he wants the government, the next party, the next government to do something about it. But the VIP nature of the constituency, that has also become quite something. Ki didi, edike mukhyamantri, edike Shubhendu da, ভোট দেওয়াটা খুব মুশকিল হয়ে গেছে নাকি? হ্যাঁ? আরে একগাল হাসলে হবে? বলুন দিদি, আপনি বলুন, আপনি তো বড় মানুষ আছেন, কি বলবেন?
বিবেচনাটা দিতে হবে, যেখানে ভালো থাকো সেইখানে তো দিতে হবে।
ভালো রকম বিবেচনা করতে হবে, তাই না? হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ। তো আর এই যে বিবেচনা করতে হচ্ছে, এত কনস্টিটুয়েন্সিতে সবাই লাফালাফি, সারা দেশ দেখছে, আপনাদের একটু ভয় ভয় লাগছে কি?
না,
কোনো ভয় নেই। So she's not a first-time voter. Women, I must say, very brave and saying they are not intimidated by the fact that this is a VIP constituency. The Chief Minister is candidate over here, and Shubhendu Adhikari, who was their MLA last time. There are tensions, of course, about ensuring that the security forces ensure there is peace on the ground. That tension apart, at least here at Nandigram, polling on in peace. With G.D. Shankar, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
All right, well, Monideepa now joins us from Nandigram, and Ratnadeep also joins us from Silchar in Assam. And Monideepa, first to you, earlier you were talking about the complaints that were made by the Trinamool about trouble in several booths. The Election Commission, however, has said that everything is proceeding smoothly.
Well, since before polling started, the Trinamool Congress sources had been putting out repeatedly, all these places where apparently there has been some trouble for it. Before I just go further on this, I want to talk to this lady here who's come to vote, and she is on a wheelchair. Didi, আপনি এত কষ্ট করে ভোট দিতে এসেছেন কেন?
অপারেশন রোগী।
হ্যাঁ, না এত কষ্ট করে ভোট দিতে এসেছেন কেন?
দেশ বাঁচানোর জন্য।
দেশ বাঁচানোর জন্য। আচ্ছা, আর আপনার কিরকম মনে হচ্ছে? এবার তো আপনার একেবারে ভিআইপি দিদি এসছে, এদিকে শুভেন্দু, লড়াইটা কিরকম মনে হচ্ছে?
ভালো হচ্ছে।
ভালো লড়াই হচ্ছে? আপনার নামটা?
আমার নাম সৈয়দা বিবি।
আর আপনি কি চান এবার ভোটের পরে? আপনি যেই জিতুক কি চাইবেন? কি চাইবেন দিদি? আপনি বলুন, আপনি তো ওনাকে নিয়ে বেরিয়েছেন।
না আমি এখানে বুথ সহায়িকা, ওনার ক্যান্ডিডেট আছে।
বলুন।
ভালো চাই, কাজ চাই, ওনার জন্য কাজের চাই, ভালো চাই, সব কিছু কাজ ঠিক করছে। দিদি তো সব কিছু করছে, মমতা দিদি না এনে কিছু হবে না। হ্যাঁ
দিদি, আমি অ্যাকচুয়ালি আপনাকে আটকালাম কারণ আপনি এরকম একটা হুইল চেয়ারে করে যাচ্ছেন, মমতা দিও এরকম, সিএম কে এরকম করতে হচ্ছে, কি মনে হচ্ছে?
দিদি এলে দেশে শান্তি বজায় রাখবে, বলো দিদি ভালো।
দিদি আইলে শান্তি রাখবে দেশ।
Okay, there are too many people prompting her, but here is this woman on a wheelchair. Thank you, Radha Niyojan. A woman on a wheelchair come to cast a vote. She has spelt out her mind. But in Nandigram, there is certainly a subterranean tension that is brewing since the last couple of days because of the huge polarization in voters, the issues that have been raised by the candidates. Nandigram is actually at the moment truly a hot seat in more ways than one. But I must tell you that I'm in Nandigram, but from across the 30 districts, 30 seats where polling is on, there are reports of trouble. Worst case, Keshpur. There apparently one person has been murdered brutally, apparently even before voting began. Allegedly he was a Trinamool man, killed allegedly by BJP workers. I understand the Election Commission has sought a probe in this matter. That apart, remember the other big fight this time is at Debra, where you have one IPS officer pitted against another. And there too we were getting reports that there have been some tensions, some allegations of, trying to influence the voters. This is against Bharati Ghosh of the BJP. Those complaints coming in from Debra. So Debra, Keshpur, Moina, that's another constituency where you have the cricketer Ashok Dinda of the BJP contesting. Even there we are hearing of reports of trouble. In Nandigram itself, again, complaints of, grabbing of booths. Again, the Trinamool is complaining that 2 booths have been seized by alleged BJP workers. We are yet to go and actually confirm that independently, but that is the Trinamool set of complaints. BJP too, in the last hour or so, has started pushing out to the media at least complaints about a party worker's vehicle being vandalized in Keshpur. No complaints in Nandigram so far from the BJP. So the fight for the Nandigram, it's of course the epicenter of it all. All eyes are on Nandigram today. Mamata Banerjee has not stepped out of her house just yet. We believe she shortly will step out and go visit some booths. Subhendu Adhikari cast his vote early in the morning by 7:30, and he is believed to be visiting one booth after the other. So both candidates keeping an eye on what's going on today. Finally, Mamata Banerjee was supposed to leave Nandigram this evening after the voting was over, and she was supposed to go off to Kolkata, but she is staying on and will only leave tomorrow. Back to you.
All right, Moni, thanks so much for joining us and rounding up all the developments for us, claims and counter-claims there. Let's go across to Assam now, where Ratnadeep joins us from Silchar. And Ratnadeep, what's the situation there? 39 seats are going to the polls today. A lot of big names in the fray today. And last night it was raining, but so far that hasn't dampened the public's spirit.
That's right. In fact, it is now a respite for the people here at Silchar, because last night there was heavy rains and even this morning, but now it's sunny, it's shining, and the clouds have gone, and you can see the turnout. Huge turnout in Silchar. However, in the 39 seats which are going to polls today till 10 a.m., about 10.51% polling has been registered, but that's because of the rains. And as the day progresses, we expect more people to come out. Now, these 39 seats are very crucial. The polling is taking place largely in Barak Valley region, the Bengali heartland of Assam, a region which did not see NTCA protest, and in fact Congress, which actually made CAA as its main poll plank in Assam, does not talk about CA in Barak Valley because there is strong sentiments in favor of CA in this region, and that's why BJP, since 2016 election, where it had won 8 out of the 15 seats in Barak Valley, actually has a edge in this area. But the equations have really changed due to the Congress Mahajot, because Barak Valley also has some left support in different pockets, but Maulana Badruddin Ajmal's AIUDF has strong pockets in Barak Valley, particularly in the Muslim dominated areas of Hailakandi and even Karimganj. Now, we are coming to you from a polling booth in Tarapur area of Silchar, and you can see there are a lot of people who have turned up. Now, every time there is voting in Barak Valley, there is some sort of polarization. But this time, because of a very high-pitched campaign by the BJP as well as the Mahajot, watchers believe that the polarization will be actually much more than what we have seen in past. In fact, that is going to play a major role. Remember, in these 39 seats altogether, including those in the hill districts of Dima Hasao and Karbi Anglong, BJP had won 28 seats along with allies, and this includes 22 seats of its own. So if the Mahajot has to actually create an impact, then this is one stage of the election where they have to create an impact. And this is also going to be a major test for the allies of the Mahajot, particularly Badruddin Ajmal, because in the first phase, which went to poll 47 seats, it was largely Congress versus BJP and AGP. But here you have pockets where Ajmal have a strong presence, and the BJP had tried in its own way in the campaign to break those strong pockets. So clearly a battle at hand in Barak Valley and on all these 39 seats which have gone to polls today.
All right, Ratnadeep, thanks so much for joining us there with all the developments as Assam goes to polls in the second phase. Well, let's return to our focus on the Bengal elections. We're now joined by Sagrika Ghosh, senior journalist, Shamkanu Mahanta, political commentator, and Nandigram, political analyst and someone who supports the BJP. Sagrika, first to you, this is the most interesting contest. There are going to be 6 more phases in Bengal, but Nandigram is where everyone's attention is at, with Mamata Banerjee taking on her former aide Suvendu Adhikari, and also already complaints and counter complaints of trouble at polling booths.
Absolutely, Gargi. This election in Nandigram, as a newspaper put it, is going to decide who will be the Adhikari of Bengal. Because it is this high-stakes battle. It's a titanic battle. It's the mother of all battles. This, remember, Nandigram, 14 years ago, I was there. This is where it all began for Mamata Banerjee. Of course, you could say that it began in 1984 when she defeated Somnath Chatterjee and her political career began. But this is really her legacy. This is her political beginning. And if she's defeated here, it'll be a blow for her legacy. It'll show that there is an undercurrent against her, which can build into a kind of wave in Bengal. So this is a highly a significant battle here in Nandigram. We've seen she's been parked there for 3 days. The BJP has pinned her down over there. The BJP has put in enormous resources into this election. As you know, union ministers are there. Dharmendra Pradhan has been camping in Bengal for the last month. Massive deployment of resources. And we've seen just how polarized this election is, Gargi. As you know, there are 2 blocks in Nandigram. There's Nandigram 1 and Nandigram 2. And it really is in Nandigram 2, which is the Hindu-dominated area, where both Mamata Banerjee and Suvendu Adhikari are fighting their battle. The polarization of Nandigram is, in fact, reflection of the polarization across Bengal. This is that 70-30 election, as people are calling it. The majority community and the minority community. It's a highly polarized, highly volatile, highly violent election this time in Bengal. As we've seen, the deployment of forces is huge. Monideepa was bringing us stories of already there have been casualties. So, yes, this is the titanic battle which will set the tone for the contest of Bengal going forward. Remember, in the next phases, we're going to see Shingur going to the polls, which is equally significant for Mamata Banerjee's political career. But Nandigram particularly, it is in fact the defining moment for Mamata Banerjee. As you know, she has also, in the middle of the election campaign, sent out letters to opposition parties.
That's right. In fact, on the
asking them
eve of
to,
today's polling. That's
on the
right.
eve of the elections, you know, that's interesting that she sent out these letters. I mean, are we looking at a possible, you know, post-poll alliance, or, you know, perhaps going forward? Or, you know, is she now looking to become the fulcrum of anti-BJP forces? Because remember, if Mamata Banerjee wins Bengal, she really becomes a stalwart of the opposition. She almost becomes like a prime ministerial candidate. So if she wins, if she's defeated on the other hand, then we're looking at a kind of opposition Mukt Bharat. So I think she's looking to really raise the stakes here. But Nandigram remains the titanic mother of all battles, and it will set the tone for the contest of Bengal going forward.
All right. Well, Shamkanu Mahanta, your views on you know, the fight today. There's been, as we were mentioning earlier, claims and counterclaims of trouble at polling booths, and the Trinamool, even as polling just about began, there was a list of booths that they were talking about. They've raised questions about the CRPF as well. But so far, the Election Commission has said that everything is proceeding quite smoothly.
Going as expected, as Sagarika has mentioned, is a highly polarized and highly violent election, and it's going to stay that way. I believe there will be a lot of violence in the coming today and the coming days. But I'll come back to Assam election, which is not as violent, is as polarized as Bengal. Because I am from Assam, I want to talk on the issue of Assam's perspective. I see a highly polarized election in Assam, as Ratnadeep was trying to mention. The first phase of Assam election was a 47 seat, which was a story of Assamese identity, the Khilonjiya Assamese, the original Assamese. The first fight, it looks like the first round goes to BJP. The BJP did well, apparently, in the first phase. But the second phase, Congress and AIADF will come back very strongly. Because of the tie-up of Congress and AIADF in the Barak Valley, where the majority seats are going into poll, Congress, AIADF coming together is a very formidable proposition, which is going to get good number of seats. The polarized election in Assam, but one difference with Bengal, again, I will try to reiterate, here the role of violence is much more limited. In Assam, the first phase is identity, the second phase is communal angle. But at the same time, I must tell you, the hill areas, in Assam, around 5 seats in hill district will go to BJP. But in Brahmaputra Valley, it will be a tough fight between BJP and Congress, BJP, AJP combined. But the issue remains, the polarization, which was not very prevalent in Assam in earlier elections. You look at the 90s and 2000. But these two elections, the communal angle has become a predominant in Assam. But in Assam issue, the communal angle is slightly a different context. In case of Assam, the Khilonjiya Muslims and the immigrant Muslims are two different roles. Assamese identity is being in trouble because of the large-scale immigration coming from Bangladesh. But Assamese people are not very insecure about the Khilonjiya Muslims. So there the communal angle is slightly different here. Here the identity issue is more important, and here there is a concern among the people of Assam, the Assamese identity original people, that there is a large-scale immigration which will wipe out the cultural integration, the cultural identity of Assamese people. That is where the fight is. Although it's a communal election, it is a slightly different context to the rest of the thing. But yes, it will be a very interesting election, and Congress and AIDF will come back strongly in the second phase. That is my assessment as of now.
Well, this phase you have, the Bengali-dominated Barak Valley, where many of those seats are. But Desh Ratan and Nigam, come in here on, the big contest that we were talking about in Bengal at Nandigram, and, Monideepa, who's been reporting elections for years now, is saying she's never seen such a polarized atmosphere ahead of any election.
Gargi, I see a lot of, paradox and hypocrisy when I see people hearing when Muslims in a particular block vote for TMC, it's not communal. And when the Hindus of Nandigram too are trying to vote for BJP, you call it communal. And that's the hypocrisy, I can't swallow. And secondly, the three issues in this phase that have come out is that jobs and unemployment that people are trying to address, setting up of agro-based industries, which is one of the important issue in this particular phase of poll, and inclusion of Hindu backward communities into the OBC category. These are three issues which are, quite popular at this point of time. Yes, it is a contest, and this contest is a live wire contest, and it is going to the last vote. And the very fact where the newspapers call it clash of titans clearly means it's gone in favor of Mr. Adhikari, because he was not a titan. And now when you call it a clash of titans, he is almost on an equal footing, or probably more, to Mamata Banerjee. And that is where this is a make or break for Mamata Banerjee. If she loses there, imagine what kind of a political career she is going to have. And it is quite a common thing to position yourself vis-a-vis Mr. Modi. Arvind Kejriwal also tries to do it. And Mamata Banerjee, everybody tries to position as a prime ministerial candidate by, opposing each and everything Mr. Modi does. Whether it is good or excellent, that's another issue. But the fact remains, once you do that, you try to make yourself quite relevant in the national context. And that is where the rhetoric comes into play. And let me tell you, the violence is not as much as we have seen in the previous elections. That is why 8-phase elections and the CRPF companies, where the Central Armed Forces companies are there, and the local cops are not supposed to be within 200 meters of the polling booths. That is also was the direction which was given. But the report from the ground is that the local cops are being seen inside the booths, and then that is what some of the channels were showing. That is also, I think, Election Commission has to say. But at the end of the day, I believe everybody must go out and vote and exercise their franchise.
All right, so as we said, claim and counterclaim. Suvajit, Bagchi, your reaction to these comments. Also, Mamata Banerjee declaring that she would only contest from Nandigram at the time did elicit quite a lot of surprise, and some even called it a risk. And today she's fighting the battle of her life.
Well, yes, it's true. As I have been consistently saying in your channel and other channels, that as we see, in politics these days, and possibly this we have learned from Donald Trump, who used to, in 2016 election, drive the entire conversation throughout the day with a tweet. He used to start his day and follow it up with another tweet in the midday, and then the entire media was divided on the tweets, forgetting the issues of the people and everything. Now, in case of India, we cannot just drive the conversation or the narrative on basis of tweets. We need to put something very substantial. So both the sides, beginning of this election, are trying to put their narrative in place. Like Subhendu Adhikari is having his own narrative of continuously saying that this is an election between people of Nandigram and Pakistan, calling Mamata Banerjee Mamta's Begum and all that. So there was a clear attempt to polarize it, which I think our political party has also now gone to Election Commission on this. So Mamata Banerjee was, in a way, getting cornered in this political battle, particularly in Nandigram, where there is a substantial Muslim vote in Block 1 and Block 2. Because if you have majority of Hindu vote there, so naturally she was getting cornered. So she had to come up with her own narrative to drive, to drive the conversation. So first, what she did, one thing was, I think this Nandigram issue, her battle in Nandigram 2006, 2007, that she has brought back, and she has been bringing these other issues. I think
what about mentioning her Gotra suddenly in the midst of campaigning? That was also something possibly was a reaction to the BJP, of course.
Of course, yes. I mean, these are the things which are ongoing process. Mamata Banerjee has created a lot of problem for herself in first place. She has done certain things which possibly she should not have done. She should have thought about it 5 or 6 years back, like giving this, the subsidy stipend to the muazzins and the imams, the prayer callers and the imams and things like that. Now, when she realized that the Hindu vote is getting consolidated, a simple example I can give you. In 2011 manifesto of Trinamool Congress, they gave a chapter. Trinamool Congress gave a chapter to the Muslims, mentioning as Muslims. In 2016, they removed the word Muslim but mentioned the word minority 42 times. And this time they have mentioned twice, and BJP also mentioned twice the word minority. So how she is kind of pulling, changing her position. And why she has to change her position? Because she went over the top after her victory.
Right. I'm sorry, we'll have to wrap it now because we're going across to where the Prime Minister is actually speaking in Kokrajhar. Thank you all for joining us on the show today and, getting your views as this important battle, as we're calling it, in Nandigram taking place. In fact, before that, let's go across to NDTV's Sanket Upadhyay, who joins us from Nandigram. Sanket, over to you.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Gargi. So, yes, the high-stakes battle is now on in Nandigram over who's going to win this place. A former aide of Mamata Banerjee, Shubhendu Adhikari, or Mamata Banerjee herself, who's, by the way, camping in Nandigram. She finished all her engagements yesterday, and since then she is inside this camp office or a temporary residence that she's made for her right here. She's expected to step out and maybe go on a tour of Nandigram later in the day. We do not know the exact time. But yes, high stakes battle, and if with the help of posters and pictures, if I can explain how competitive this has become. So on one hand you have her residence, and on the other, Rakesh is going to show you, is this poster that has been put up. Imagine, right outside where she is staying, and the poster in Bengali says, Rakesh, what does it say?
Nandigram Medinpurer Bhumiputra ke chai, Bharyagat ke nahi.
Which means that Nandigram is going to stay with the Bhumiputra, with the son of the soil, and not with outsiders. So a message is being sent that Mamata Banerjee is an outsider in Nandigram, with the help of these posters right outside her temporary or a makeshift house. So you can imagine how competitive really Nandigram election has become. Now, obviously this election in this area has become completely polarized, but the polarization is, obviously we talk a lot about the religious polarization, Hindu, Muslim, 30-70, Pakistan, Shubhendu's comments which he has which he had started making, Mamata Banerjee, trying to emphasize her gotra, reading out, chanting some mantras, slokas. But apart from that, there are certain other polarizations also that are happening along caste lines, which is not really spoken about. Along gender lines, between the men and the women, which way will the women voters go? I think these are the dynamics on which the Trinamool Congress particularly is banking on, because as far as the BJP is concerned, in Nandigram, Shubhendu Adhikari seems to have put all his eggs in the religious polarization basket, because that's the game that he wants to play to win Nandigram. The calculation very simply is that because of this appeasement overdrive, this is the BJP's explanation, because of the appeasement overdrive of Mamata Banerjee for a particular community in the last 5 years, this religious polarization angle may benefit Shubhendu Adhikari in an area like Nandigram and elsewhere in the state also. The calculation very simply for the BJP is that if this works in Nandigram, it could very well work as a template for the rest of the state as well.
All right, Sanket, thanks so much for joining us. Sanket Upadhyay there reporting from Nandigram, which is the epicenter of this big battle for Bengal, with Mamata Banerjee being challenged by Shubhendu Adhikari.